My name is Purnima Govindarajulu. I was born and brought up in India, but I live in Victoria, British Columbia. I wanted to change the system. There are so many people who have suffered the same thing. Society and family would rather brush it aside. But in wanting to forget, they minimize the trauma and the impact on the survivors. Miss Maneka Gandhi heard my story and realized that this was something that needed doing. And so she announced last year that there was no time limit to file a complaint about child sexual abuse under POCSO. Historic child abuse, however, remains unclear. I was sexually abused by my cousin sister's husband from the time I was 10 until I was about 13 when I reached sexual maturity. The abuser had convinced me that it was my fault, that I was bad, that I was asking for it. It was only when I was 21 years old and had migrated to Canada that I realized that what had been done to me was a crime, that it had a name, that it wasn't my fault, and the person who was doing this to me was a criminal. The memory of what was done to me has always been with me. It was horrible, and I will always remember it. I told my family about it when I was about 28 or 29 because my nieces were young and I was worried that the man would do it to them too. And I have no idea how many more children he went on to abuse. In 2013, I had the misfortune of going to the house of the abuser once again. There I saw a young little girl, and she was vulnerable because the family was silent about the kind of man this was. I felt I had to change something. I could not let the inaction of my family continue to let children remain vulnerable to this man. The Canadian police officially recorded the crime that was done to me as a child. Of course, the Canadian system has no jurisdiction on a crime that was committed in India by an Indian on an Indian, but they strongly encouraged me to take it to the Indian police. Of course, no lawyer in India wanted to help me. Again, it was an old family friend. She put me in touch with a lawyer who was fantastic. I was able to submit my report, the official documentation from the Canadian police, to her. But of course, there was nothing she could do because there were no laws in India under which she could file a complaint. It's not that the police did not believe me, they just did not have any legal means to take action. So I wanted to change the system. My old family friend helped me, put me in touch with another lawyer who had experience making legislative change. Miss Maneka Gandhi heard my story and realized that this was something that needed doing. And so she announced last year that there was no time limit to file a complaint about child sexual abuse under POCSO. Historic child abuse, however, remains unclear. Society takes a very lax attitude toward sexual molestation, and it is the survivors who bear the burden, who bear the scars. Most survivors of child sexual abuse never forget what was done to them. The scars are deep and they remain and will remain for life. Many survivors go on to lead very successful lives, both personally and professionally. But imagine how much more successful they would be if they didn't have to carry this deep burden within them every day of their life going forward. Society and family would rather brush it aside. Maybe they're embarrassed that they were unable to protect the children. One of the biggest hurdles that we as survivors face is the resistance of society and family because of the historic nature of this crime. It's very difficult to convince family members that this is not about us. This is not about us wanting attention or justice, but about us wanting to prevent the same trauma from being perpetuated on other children decade after decade.